So we've already gone over 12.11. Functions can call other functions, composition. So I figured, and we've seen that when we went over when we wrote tetrimos with the with our turtle. And I'll go ahead and do that right now, but then I'm going to expand on this a great deal. I'm going to get into some galaxy brain stuff, if so to speak, that may be a bit above your level. That's okay. I figure that it's important to kind of show you that. It was stuff that completely blew my mind. That when I couldn't comprehend it when I was coming from Java. But if you're coming from another programming language, you will if you're coming from like no programming whatsoever, you're actually going to be in a better experience because you'll say, well, that's odd. Okay, and I guess you can do that. And just leave it to be there. So let's go ahead and import turtle. Let's go ahead and say Bob is equal to turtle, right? Okay, and run it. Don't know why it is getting annoyed with me for trying to import turtle. Okay, so we're going to import turtle. We're going to say turtle.done over here. We're going to go ahead and define a function over here, def we're going to go ahead def draw square, which is going to take in a turtle, which is going to take in Bob as a turtle, and it's going to take in a side length, and it's just going to draw a square. We've seen this many times where basically we just simply say for blank in range 4, we're going to do this 4 times, Bob dot forward the side length, and then Bob turns right 90 degrees so that he can draw a square, right? And the idea behind composition is, suppose that I wanted to draw one of those tetremo shapes. Let's go ahead and draw the Z tetremo, which looks something like this. Z tetremo. Let's call it a Z tetremo. So def draw Z tetremo. And we know with the way that this will work for Bob is that we can what's cool is that we can, because we know the way draw square works, where basically he's gonna end up at the same orientation and the same spot as when he started when he drew a square. This becomes a lot easier because we know we have to draw 4 squares. So let's assume we're starting from this part over here. So let's see, draw square. Draw square, Bob side. Really don't know what's going on with Python right now, in the sense, and why it's having such issues running this. Or why unresolved module tert. Import turtle. Don't know why it's having such issues with that. Okay. Bob. So we've drawn 1, then let's go ahead and move him forward. Bob dot forward. I'm going to move Bob forward 100, so the side length, or rather we're going to move him forward the side length. Let's go ahead and start by working on this. Call this 100. Oh, I indented wrong. Had a bit too much of an indent over here. So moved him forward a bit. Now let's get him to draw another Tetrimo over here. Two, three, four. Okay, and then we need him to go here. So, Bob.lt 90 degrees. Bob.forward. The side length of that, because we want him to be in the same orientation. Otherwise, he's going to draw it weird. Bob dot. Now we tell Bob to draw his third square. And then to move forward and draw the fourth square. And so there we go. We made our problem simpler by having this draw square function available to us. So that's what's really cool. So functions can call other functions. But this is where if you completely lose the thread of things, that's okay. You can have functions call other functions. In fact, there's a special function we use for calling other functions, which I'll introduce in a bit. But there's nothing stopping me from running. So, like over here, you've probably seen stuff like in your math classes, like g of f of x, right? Where you take the f of x and you take whatever whatever is output by f of x and you throw it into g of x, right? You've probably seen that. Or you can actually do that in Python too. You can do this whole right? We can do. Oh, let's just show you how. Def apply. So let's say we've got a function over here and a list. Pass. And now I'm going to write something called double. Right? Double, as we've seen, takes in a number x and returns 2x. It's going to return twice the value. So here is a function called apply. And what it's going to do is that it's going to take this function and update everything in the list with it. Now, first off, things in, as I've mentioned and hinted at, lists are mutable. So if I change something in this list, the change will be reflected outside of the program, or outside of this function. So if I pass in a list, the change will update. So let's go ahead and say for I in range, because I do care about the indices in this case. Length, assuming I can type, length of list. So this gives me all the indices in the list, right? So suppose I'm passing in, so this will be my example. I'm going to pass in the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? I'm going to pass in the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so if I pass in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I want to apply a function to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So for I in range list, this will go through the indexes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. In fact, why don't we go ahead and make these numbers a bit bigger to differentiate them from the indexes. So first we're going to get the value at that index is equal to 10. I'm sorry, value is equal to LST. Let's go ahead and change this to index to make it more clear. So we're going to get the value at that index. Then we're going to say, hey, value is equal to that value, but we're going to apply that function to it. We are going to invoke func on it. What? Well, function is going to be a variable. So watch this. So just watch. leave your questions for a second, because I'm almost done. I think I'm done, actually. So, now let's go ahead and let's create our list. So we've got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Now this is like, again, as I hinted earlier, stuff that you probably won't need, but it's really cool that you can do it in Python. We're going to apply. We are going to apply the function double to this list. In fact, let's put this in a variable to make it easier to read. My list is equal to that. We are going to apply we got 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. So this applied the function to everything in the list. So what just happened there? Well, first off, this changed, right? Well, strings are mutable. That's why you can change. If you change something, strings are immutable, but lists are mutable. Lists are mutable. If you pass in lists, they will change if you make changes to them like this, specifically line 29. So what I've done is that I passed in this function. I didn't invoke it here. I just simply said, hey, you know this function, this variable that I created that represents this the name I gave to this function, right? Function double at this memory location. Well, I want you to take this function in as a variable, which allows you to invoke it. Now, why didn't I just simply, do this and put double here instead? Well, the answer is actually pretty cool. Hey, Laser. All right, let's go ahead and take the square over here. Return x times x. Your tummy is empty. I'm almost done recording over here. Then I'll go ahead and help you. So square. So now I've got another function. And I can apply that, and I can now apply the square function there. Or if I want to, I can go back to doing double. It's a very, very, very cool idea. It's a very, very powerful idea. Being able to pass functions to other functions. So keep that in mind when you're programming, that it's something we can do.
Play board games.
You want to play board games?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm almost done. All right, you heard him. I gotta play board games, so I'm gonna upload these videos. This is pretty much all the important stuff for chapter 12. The only thing I would mention is side effects, which we kind of covered over here. So, this word global, by the way, allows you to say, hey, the y in this equation, it's a global variable. I want to use it in this equation. You don't need to do it too often. It's just, that's what it does. But for the most part, we covered all. I've touched on everything that appears in the other in all the other sections for this. So, but now you know how to return things from functions. It's not too scary.
Đấy.